Hi there! In this guide, I hope to tell you everything you need to know about the third boss of Lucent Citadel, the Arcane Knot. A unique fight in ESO, different to anything we have seen so far. The fight starts directly after having killed the second boss, and the goal is to bring the Arcane Knot, which you have now recovered by killing the Orphic Shattered Shard, back to the entrance. You have to do this by running back through the trial. On the way, you will encounter different ads and bosses, which I will talk over one by one in this video. Please note that everything I say applies to the hard mode fight, unless when indicated. And for most aspects, I am not really sure how it differs from the non-hard mode fight. I know for sure though that some of the timings are different. However, the way mechanics work will not be different, so also when you play on veteran difficulty, I think it's worth watching. After killing the second boss, one player in a group can pick up the Arcane Knot. This person can only hold the knot for 45 seconds on hard mode or 60 seconds on veteran difficulty. The person carrying the knot will have a ramping dot upon him, which needs to be out-healed. After 45 seconds, the knot will automatically be dropped. Then the knot has to be picked up by another person in the group, as the person dropping will get an 8-minute debuff on hard mode, which means that they cannot carry the knot during this time. Also, everyone else who is in the AoE of the knot whilst it being dropped will get a debuff, so make sure to get out. Every time the knot drops, a Crystal Atronach will spawn. At the start, they will have about 6.5 million HP. However, when they are dragged into the knot within a considerable time after spawning, they will grow bigger and gain more HP. This additional amount of HP increases over time till a maximum of about 10 million HP. In this state, the Atronachs hurt quite a lot. Even light attacks will kill tanks when unblocked. Tanks can still block their heavy attacks though, but if at the same time also other damage is incoming, wall dodging is recommended. After each heavy, the Atronach will do a stomp on the person who was stunned on them. This attack is preferably rolled, and for sure should be rolled by healers and damage dealers. If the stomp is on you, make sure that you don't make any unexpected movements, as otherwise you will kill everyone inside the AoE not dodging. Lastly, the Atronach will teleport towards you when left behind, thus you cannot outrun it. Whilst running back through the trial, you will encounter several defense prisms. These are the things you will have to kill to be able to continue further back through the trial, as otherwise you will be blocked by ice walls. There are single defense prisms, but also prisms in a group of 2 or 3. When connected, the prisms have to be killed within a few seconds of each other, otherwise they will respawn. Last, during the running phases, you encounter a few of these beams. Be aware that they do damage when fully expanded, which means that when they are growing but the AoE shows, you can actually still run through. But when it's fully grown but the ground AoE has disappeared, you will have to roll dodge through. This was it for the general mechanics. Now on to the different bosses you will encounter. The first boss fight is the Mirrormoor Mantikora, straight after going through the door. There is nothing really special to say about this fight. The only tricky thing is that it can be hard at times for the tank to get it taunted before it does its first attack. Therefore, it is never a bad idea to just make sure you are blocking or roll dodging when its first attack goes out. Besides that, the Manticora also has a melee attack, which tanks can eat unblocked. It will however do quite some damage. After you kill the second defense prism, the second boss, Dariel Lemonds, will spawn. His special mechanic is a tether between the 2 players furthest away, the Arcane Conveyance. Everyone who touches this tether will die. You will know the tether is on you when your screen turns blue. After the tether, the boss will jump to the tank who has the taunt on them. As you can see, this is also a location where 2 defense prisms are. Thus, these have to be killed shortly after each other. There are multiple ways to deal with this. For example, you can kill the boss first and split in 2 different groups after to kill the prisms, do it the other way around, or, as you see us doing here, kill the first prism after we let the boss jump on the other prism, which we kill very quickly. Just find out what works best for your group. The third boss fight, Baron Rize, takes place in the same arena as the first boss fight of the trial. Just like in that fight, where Count Rayla summons 2 sets of meteors that you can either block or roll dodge, Baron Rize does the same, but instead he summons only 1 set of meteors, but at a faster rate after each other. This boss likes to move a lot, but since he doesn't have any cleave, the tank can stand wherever he likes to minimize the movement. After a bit of running, you will encounter the 4th boss, Mzrelnir, or whatever he is called. You don't really fight the boss directly, but a bunch of Necromancers instead. After having killed the prism, the boss will start casting its mechanics, which are Necrotic Rain and Necrotic Barrage. Necrotic Barrage is an AoE spawning under the Knot Bearer, which was me in this video. A few seconds after the AoE has spawned, a Necrotic Skull will fly in and kill everyone in the AoE. During Necrotic Rain, everyone is targeted, as well as a small area around you. Therefore make sure to make a loose stack, so your AoEs do not overlap. The easiest way to deal with the Necromancers is to have one tank going down to grab them and stack them on top of the stairs. This way they can be killed quickly, though watch out for the ghosts that stun you. When all Necromancers are killed, Mzrelnir will stop casting its mechanics. When going down as a tank, your main focus is to bring in the Necromancer furthest back, standing on the last defense prism. Get close to him, taunt, and maybe also cast a skill with a long dot, like Alice's, so you keep doing damage on it and have a lower chance of losing aggro. Wait for him near the first prism and then come up at the entrance side of the stairs, as it will improve the stack. The most difficult part is dealing with the Necrotic Rain in combination with the healing debuff, so don't forget to shield and heal yourself. After the Necromancers have been killed, it is time to kill the 3 defense prisms below to be able to advance further. Again, there are different ways of doing it, for example splitting up into different groups or bringing the first ones low and leave people behind to finish them off, and probably several other ways as well. It's no rocket science, so just figure out what works for your group best. The same applies to the 2 defense prisms at the entrance side in the next room. You can either kill them before or after you kill the 2 bosses, with the advantage of the first option being not having to deal with the AoEs that the prisms cast in their neighborhood, and the advantage of the second option being that you can fully focus on the puzzles first. Both ways work perfectly fine, so do whatever you prefer. About the 2 bosses, they are called something like Jresazzel and Xynizata. Jresazzel is a melee boss, and following his heavy, he does a shield throw, similar to the sentinel on the second boss in Lucent Citadel. It is best if the tanks are making sure that this shield throw is directed towards the wall. Xynizata is the range axe that needs to be dragged in. He does a channel attack, which, if not interrupted, will make the tank very slow. Xynizata also casts a big laser beam, similar to the beams you encounter when running through the corridors. This beam can be controlled by the tanks, but it hits very hard, so they again have to make sure it is not going through the group. On the other side of the room, you will find 2 more defense prisms that need to be killed simultaneously. After that, it's time for the last encounter, Xoryn. But before I start talking Xoryn, I want to give a big shout out to Lilgabe, Kulkgin, Tingletony and Minxin for sharing their footage and knowledge. Without them, I would not have been able to make this guide in this way, including all different perspectives and details for their roles. About that, a few things worth mentioning for the healers. Consider the use of 1 or 2 swift jewelry pieces to be better able to keep up with the group during the running phases, as you do not have the speed buff for medium armor. It is also good to cast some healing orbs during the running phases, so people can recover some resources. Otherwise, during everything you have seen so far, your main priority is to heal the Knot Bearer, which is especially needed in the last seconds before exploding. Now on to the last and also the most tricky fight in this encounter, Xoryn. This boss has several mechanics which can overlap badly, so bringing a shield is recommended. It is also a pretty static fight in a way that the timings of the abilities he casts are always the same. Let's go over these abilities first. The first mechanic I will talk about is Chain Lightning, which you see happening here. This attack starts with the accelerating charge attack on the tank. After the channel has finished, this chain attack will go for every other group member and has to be blocked, as unblocked it is or is close to a one-shot. Be aware that this chain lightning travels through the group, so that means that not everyone will get hit at the same time. Especially if you are standing further back, as you can see here, you might get hit later, so make sure you keep blocking until it has passed through you. This chain lightning mechanic will happen every 15 seconds. The second mechanic, Fluctuating Current, is first cast after about 15 seconds. During this mechanic, the fluctuating current, recognizable as a blue cage around a person, is thrown upon the person standing furthest away. The current does damage to this person, with the amount increasing over time. The maximum duration someone can keep the current is 15 seconds. If it is kept longer, this will result in a one-shot. Thus another person has to come in and take it over. This is simply done by walking through the cage. After having had the current upon you, you will get a 1.5 minute debuff, in which you cannot take the cage again. Per cast, the cage has to be juggled for a full minute, which means that theoretically at least 4 people need to pass over the current, but in practice you will need some time to spare, thus 5 people are needed to pass one current. After this minute, the mechanic will spawn again only a few seconds after it's gone. As the first 5 people still have the debuff, this means that another group of 5 people will have to pass over the second cage, and so on and so on. Unlike the not carrier, the carrier of the fluctuating current will also get targeted by the chain lightning, so make sure to block and shield up if you want to live. And whilst carrying the cage, make sure to not run into the group, as you will kill everyone else with the debuff. Then on to the last mechanic of Xoryn, Tempest Assaults. These are the lines you might have seen pass a few times already. After every other chain lightning, so after every 30 seconds, the lines will spawn on every group member except for the knot bearer and the tank having taunted on Xoryn. Your task is simple. Make sure to only get hit by your own line, as if you are hit by 2 lines, it will certainly means death, as the lines are oblivion damage and cannot be shielded. The lines are originating from the mirrors you see at the sides of the arena. Every person will get a random mirror assigned. There are different ways to deal with this mechanic. Firstly, if you can find your mirror in time, you can hide behind it, so your line is not going through the arena. However, doing this as a group is close to impossible. Therefore, we opted to spread out throughout the arena, with everyone having an assigned area. If your spot is not free of lines, you can move along your line, so you do not change its direction until you find a safe spot. I've also seen a group standing in a line in the middle. This is possible, as there are no lines originating from the entrance and exit, thus all lines will cross the line of people without hitting people twice. As with the prisms, there are multiple ways of dealing with this mechanic, so it's up to you to find out what works best for your group. Last, Xoryn also has a specific tanking mechanic, a taunt swap. As every accelerating charge attack will cause a debuff on a tank with taunt, this means that tanks have to swap taunts of the boss after every heavy. Easiest is to also swap taunt of the Atros, if alive, so you have one tank tanking the boss and the other tanking the Atronach. The tank having the Atronach will also have to play the line mechanic. As you can't freely move during this mechanic, you gotta play defensive when you get a heavy or stomp from the Atronach at the same time. Make sure to block and shield up to be able to survive this combination. As you can see, the Xoryn fight is quite tricky, with some overlapping mechanics going on. Besides that, don't forget that the Arcane knot is also still there, and its mechanics have to be played. Luckily, the knot bearer is not affected by the chain lightning, and you also won't have a line spawn upon you. You have to watch out for the lines from other people though, as you will still take damage from those. Besides, make the knot and current order in such a way that the knot bearer will not have the fluctuating current at the same time, as this will be almost impossible to outheal. If you get it all right, you will quickly get a feel for the order though, and the only thing changing is where the lines will originate from. I hope all this information will help you. If you have any remaining questions, additions or feedback, feel free to comment or contact me. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. For now, enjoy the trial or take a look at the other guides I made. See you!